Hey, and welcome back to VFX Tutors. I'm Josh, and in these tutorials we're going to be continuing with our little robot model. So we finally got through and did our hand, well most of it. We'll do a little bit more on it now, but now we're going to move on to the waist. So this should be a pretty quick tutorial, to be honest. So yeah, hope you've been enjoying these tutorials. I know some of them are really long. I'll probably say that a lot. But yeah, they are. I'm just going through how I'd go through them, so things take time, so don't worry if you're taking even longer. All that matters is that you follow the sort of correct sort of methodology and keep your mesh clean, and don't cheat with using just booleans and nasty geometry, because it doesn't really work through the VFX pipeline. But yeah, I'm not going to go on. Let's continue with making this model, and thanks for watching. Okay, so so far we've got up to this point. We've made our hand, and we're going to move on to the waist. There is one little thing that I do want to do. It's kind of empty. If I just hide that quickly, we can sort of see a lot inside here. So I do just kind of want to make a something so it's not such a void in there. We don't really want to do tons of detail, but what we can do is just make something very quickly as sort of like a shielded case or something like that. So just so it's not, because it's going to be pretty dark in there and we don't need so I'm just going to make a cylinder, and this should be pretty quick. I say that, I don't know how many times I've said it will be pretty quick and it never ends up being pretty quick, but I'm just going to use this cylinder as a template. And I'm going to go through this quickly. It doesn't have to be absolutely amazing. So I'll just go with 12. I'm just going to try and get this, because we can adjust all this afterwards. So what I'm doing is just using this so I can make a very simple sort of, imagine we just don't want to see all in there, but we can have a glimpse that there's more underlying things. And let's actually go to our orthographic top. I think we didn't actually, I think we only roughly spaced these last time. We might want to double check on our spacings, and obviously the naming's not absolutely correct. Do actually want to push these out a little bit more, I think, so we see more of the knuckly bit. Cool. Just gonna turn my shading. Just gonna duplicate this, and I'm just gonna duplicate it for each one of these sort of centerpieces. On the verts. So I will remove that rotation there, although no, that should be fine. And we can always adjust this afterwards. Cool. So we've sort of roughly placed those. And now all I'm going to do is mesh combine them. Then I'm just going to isolate those. So now you can see we've got this. I'm just going to delete this bit, all the inside bits. Ooh. Just select all its edge loops and press Ctrl E. Just going to make an initial edge loop. See, this is sort of inside out, so don't worry about that. Ctrl E. I do like to have 2 edge loops. Everyone's different. It's just how I prefer to have sometimes having 2 edge loops before I start join edges. And if you want, we can just reverse the mesh now. And I'm just going to join these. Bridge. and I'm going to put one division in there, so it should be down the middle. And I'm going to do the same again here. Just press G, one division. We could probably bring these up. I'm just going to target world. So it's going to be quite quick because we're only doing it sort of. So if any light does go in there, it doesn't really reveal anything because we'll just texture this the same color as the hand or something a little bit different. And I know I said I was doing, we will be doing the waist. It's just I was just going to do this, or I just didn't want to do it and just do it my own time. I wanted to show you that I'm actually doing this as well, because you might be like, oh, where did this bit come from? So I'm just going to extrude that out. I'm going to slightly scale it, just so I can start reducing this curve. You don't want to do it too much so you don't get like wildly stretched polys. I'm just going to extrude again. Then on the next one I will just scale it completely flat. And now he's sort of got to the edge there. It doesn't matter so much if it's going through the mesh. So we can do the same again on this side. And probably could just duplicate it over, but because we've kind of got bespoke finger positions, don't really want to mess around too much with it. Cool. And we'll just do the bottom. So just select that edge loop and deselect those down. Control E. I'm just going to make one extra edge loop, scale it a little bit, and Control E again. And I can completely flatten it. Although I probably don't want to completely flatten it because it does curve through, but we might be okay. Might have to adjust that. Let's do the same here. So we need to unhide top part. So we're kind of just making it so we're not seeing all of the inside if we don't really need to. And if you wanted to, there's nothing stopping you filling out, putting loads more detail on the inside. I've just noticed something a bit odd here with the mesh. Looks like we may not have selected those edges on the bevel, so we need to have a look at that as well. But we'll just finish this off. So you think you finished one thing, then you have to fix another thing. But that's why you need to keep an eye on your sort of models. Luckily that this is just a duplicate of that side, so we can easily fix this. So let's just double check what's going on here. Might actually be easier to remove this bevel than re-bevel it. So it's good to keep an eye on these sort of things. See, it happens. Double check that we're not going to destroy anything either as we're doing this. So we could add the edge loop in if we wanted to, but so just going around checking that I have selected all of the correct edges. entirely sure why that would have not selected it, but if I press Control Delete now, that should remove all the edge loops, hopefully. It's definitely done something a bit funky here and here. Should be okay because we just need to merge those to the center. So we need to keep an eye on, because when you do like a mass removal of a bevel, you will get possibly things going a little bit odd. So it's worth having a little look around, like here. It's not quite removed the bevel correctly. It's being able to spot these problems before they become massive problems as well, which is really important. So when you remove we're probably going to check the history on the nodes. May have been able to actually turn it off. And just going to undo that because it's probably why it broke, because we didn't. Ooh. Select these ones in here. In fact, actually, let's do this a much simpler way. Just going to bevel in there, and obviously it's now made quite a mess. What we need to do is just edit mesh and merge the center. It's not doing it. Okay. We're turning into a bigger mess now. Let's go with our original plan, just delete it, all the edge loops. This is why you got to be careful that you've selected them all. And I did a boo-boo. What are we on? How long are we on? 12 minutes. So let's fix this quickly so we can actually get onto the actual waste. So now I've excuse the pun, but wasted a lot of time. Cool. So as we've done that, we have made a mess. So let's go around and just double check that we've removed everything that we want. Even make sure you control delete those. Even though I did do it, it sometimes doesn't delete them all. You might have to just rebuild some edges. And if a vertice like that, you can just delete it. But to delete the edges, and I don't know why it's not deleted all those, but I'm just going to press 3. Just have a look at my mesh. I know it's kind of, we've not beveled it, but if we've got any loose vertices, we'll see them. Like over here, see there's something funny. That's why it's always really important to check your bevels. That's why I kind of don't like using bevels that much, because you do have to be really quite... You have to check them quite vigorously. And if you have to go around deleting loads of stuff like this, it can be a bit annoying. And even though I've used Control Delete, it's not got rid of all those vertices. And we've got some extra ones here. So smooth that now and have a look. Just have a little look around. It should be fairly obvious if you've got any stray vertices. So just look like a gap. Let's go on here. Cool. So we need to do now is just select this. These edges. And just triple check that we've got everything selected this time, so don't miss it. I don't know if you can hear that, but my cat is snoring right now. Cool. So we've got that edge. And let's bevel it now. Cool. Cool. So it looks like we may have to fix some sort of stuff here as well. So we should be able to fix that with just quite a simple cut here to continue those being a poly. Four side. Something seems to have gone quite wrong here. Should be all right. And on the inside here, we've I think it's because that was an original bevel there, and we kind of may have missed out, but it should be absolutely fine now. And you can spend more time cleaning this up. I know that it's probably not the best fix, but we're now looking good. So it's a bit dodgy around there, but should be fine. Let's not lose too much sleep over it, and we can just duplicate this. And -1 in the white. Bring it down. Just a rough gap. Cool. And let's just freeze the transforms. Cool. So now we're finally back on track with this bit. Sorry about that. And we'll just delete these edge loops. You don't have to delete them actually. We can to keep our UVs down. We can just bring them in. Control E. And you'll probably never really notice. So if I press 3 on that, it's just kind of like that. Cool. Although we need to adjust the size. So I'm just going to select all the insides of these. Shift and right click and use transform component. So now we can sort of scale these in relative to their actual positions instead of scaling them. and it just kind of blocks it off a bit. So if we do see some glimpses of space in it, we won't really see loads, and even so, you can probably bring those back ever so slightly and it should be fine. Cool, so we're actually finally 20 minutes in. We finished the hand, so that's all cool. And we're actually going to do the torso, or this waist bit now. It will be super simple. So just go back to our reference, orthographic front. And we can sort of see that this is a bent down, so we can take a guesstimated sort of guess at it. So hopefully that you're all at the origin, so when you do create a cylinder and look at the front, it should come in perfectly lined up with the actual model already. And we're just going to take a guesstimated height from this. So I'm going to assume that's probably sunken in. And I'm just going to use my multi-cut as a sort of reference for the sort of... So this is where we're really going to see it. Let me go back to my perspective. Going to hide this. And I'm just going to have a look at my scales. Just going to scale this down. Cool. So if we look at our reference, we can sort of see it's kind of it's got a uniformly round one here, then two big ones, and I expect this is probably the same at the top. So we can try and match that. So bring that down. So let's go back to our orthographic front, actually. Let's bring... we don't even see our grid, really, so let's not bother using that. Cool. We've kind of got this bulbousy bit here and two larger bulbousy bits. And you can do this mathematically perfect if you want. I'm not too bothered if you decide not to. So let's do these first, and we can Control E and extrude on them. The reason I've done those separately is so I can effectively keep them separate. Then I'll extrude these afterwards, and we'll just do an offset. I know it's not beveled there, but we kind of want to see if we can get that sort of look. Let's do the same to this. Let's Control E again. And let's try and match, at least try and match this for now. Then we can make some more creative edits afterwards. Cool. So if we press 3 now, we're not going to get anything that we wanted. So what we want to do is select these inner edges and sort these out first, because we know that these are going to be fairly sharp, and we can actually add just a bevel in here. Bring it down. We don't want it too tight, but now if we press 3, we can get an idea of what we're going to get. So it's not a huge sort of step. It's quite soft, actually. So what we can do, we can actually bring this up to quite a large bevel, so it's quite soft on either side. Then all I'm going to do is just going to add a multi-cut. The middle of these. I'll do them separately, just because they are slightly thinner. I'm going to press 3 again, and I'm going to hold Shift and use my transform component again. I'm going to pull this out until I start to, because this looks very cylindrical. So it does come out quite a bit, but the further we bring it out, the worse our bevel's going to be. So if we press 2, so go to our bevels, and yeah, you can do this in many different ways. I just like to be able to sort of have a bit more, not more control, but I'm trying to match this, and I'm not quite getting it just by keeping everything uniform, but if I can roughly get what I want. So I feel that these are possibly a bit too far out, so I'll use transform component. It's not massively out, it's kind of a bit more like that. And now we'll just kind of do this, these bits, because they're relatively the same size. Probably want to try and at least get them central. So if I press 3 now and hold Shift and right click transform component, see if we can sort of achieve the same sort of effect. It kind of looks like that's an original that doesn't deform at all, so these actually might just be too big. So you can do it to whatever level you feel is good enough. I'm just going to I'm going to bevel these because it's going to be a hard edge. And the same with up here. So I'm just going to play these bits that I'm not really liking. It does kind of feel that this is all the same sort of size. Bring that up with a bit of a soft select. And let's turn soft select off. I'm just going to go back to my edges again. Ooh. And I'm just going to bring these actually back to a bit more like that. So I just like it a little bit more like that. I think theirs is a bit more shallow, but that could possibly be because that's the way that's tilted. It might be because it's rigged like that. Anyway, yeah, so that's the next thing that we need to do. So let's just pull this down. And for ease, we could just delete this. Control E, because we're not going to see this bit anyway. And we also don't want to have to UV it or worry about any rigging parts on it, so cool, so now we just pull that up. Because we don't really see that top part. If we look at it, it kind of might be quite stuck in, but we can take an estimated guess, I believe. It's not. Looks like this has actually been pushed a little bit forward. I'm just going back to our orthographic front and just double check against our reference. Yeah, we're pretty close with it. Obviously it's not in the right, it's tilted down, but yeah, I think that's pretty good for what we need. Let's just turn our shading wireframe shaded off and just have a look. That probably actually needs to go up a bit more because we don't really see that part, but cool. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. Although this does look a bit softer. Maybe we should select these edges. Transform the component again. I think that should be fine. Cool. And that'll squash and stretch when we sort of it gets animated. Cool, so let's rename this as we go along. I guess waste. What's this here? And that's and let's delete the history. And we can put these in their sort of respected groups. And we don't have a group for that. Just call these fingers. Control G and waste. Cool. So yeah, we're done with that one. There's no point going on with this one. We're on half an hour. Then in the next one, we'll do this sort of this bit here. Then actually, like most of this stuff is actually going to be reused from. This is the same stuff as up here as well. So in theory, we only really have to do this sort of waist hip bit, then these sort of shins and feet. We're almost done with the modelling. So yeah, hopefully you've enjoyed that tutorial and you've been enjoying this series so far. I know some of them have been quite long, but it's just how sometimes modelling takes ages. So thanks for watching. Please do like and subscribe. It really does help. And yeah, and I appreciate your feedback and look forward to seeing what you make with this. So thanks for watching and see you in the next one.